All right, folks, I just finished reading one of the most important, terrifying, and really long report on cybersecurity influence operations. It's one of the largest ones and most comprehensive ones I've ever seen. And this is a 54-page long document on espionage, cyber warfare, AI-powered manipulation tactics, everything that OpenAI disclosed late last year from their own operations. Incredible insights into the warfare and what nation states are actually trying to utilize AI for, right? It's a guidebook on how these governments, hackers, and all kinds of organizations are actually trying to use AI to manipulate population, but also manipulate their targets. We being from cybersecurity and safety, we need to be aware of all of that. And I've done just that. I've read through the document and compiled a list of the highlights here so that you don't have to do that yourself, but rather you can refer to this and use it as a guide, as a summary of it. So let's get to it. And of course, this is insane information, especially if you are very understanding of what threat actors are actually trying to influence and manipulate people to. So let's get right to it. If you think AI is just making memes or coding shortcuts, well, of course, you're in for a wake-up call, right? OpenAI has released this document, and it talks about how governments are weaponizing it. Hackers are evolving, and so should you, right? We all should evolve and, of course, use AI for our benefit. First thing I want to touch on are the use cases that they highlight in the report. This is cyber warfare in real life because, well, they are utilizing AI as their machine to create content on multiple types of and multiple levels of operations, right? So let's have a look at some case studies that OpenAI highlighted that should worry you, or at least put some thoughts in your mind about how AI is being weaponized. So these aren't, of course, some dude in basement coming up with these techniques or these campaigns. Rather, we're talking about state-sponsored, right, and AI-enhanced cyber influence operations here. Potentially everyone's the target. Case number one that OpenAI highlights is SweetSpecter. This is an AI-powered cyber recon unit attributed to a place in Asia. So what happened? Essentially, this is a cyber adversary, and what they have done according to OpenAI's research. They use their models for reconnaissance, vulnerability research, scripting support, and phishing evasion techniques. And how have they done it? Well, they also attempted to spearfish OpenAI employees using malware-infected attachment disguised as customer support request. So a technique that we often see on, of course, social media, but also utilizing job ads with attachments that are malicious. They've attempted that against OpenAI. Now, what does this mean for you? Right? Phishing attacks are evolving. They're powered by AI. There's no more broken English emails from the Prince of Nigeria, of course. Everything is near perfect. Personalized emails designed to bypass all the filters that have been built on years, utilizing a lot of these little signs of malicious activity. They are nearly gone. What this also means is that your data is gold, right? So attackers are targeting AI companies. Imagine how much they'd love to access corporate emails, credentials, even social media accounts. Doing some research over the last few weeks about what happens when you lose access to a social account. If you're ever in the midst of a spear phishing campaign against yourself and you lose access to your Instagram, for example, how do you access it back? Well, you have to go through legal action potentially, right? So if you lose access to MFA, if you lose access completely to it, then you have to go through legal means, and that will take a lot of your money. You have to pay for a lawyer and then go through lengthy process to get your account back. So that's really damaging on a personal level, right? So think about that. Now, think about how you defend against some of these tactics. Think about zero trust, never trust, always verify. I oftentimes get requests on LinkedIn saying, hey, let's do something, or your work here and there is impressive. Let's do something that is somewhat connected to it. I may be leaving some opportunities on the table here, but I oftentimes don't reply or don't even engage with these kind of offers. So the first thing is zero trust. Never trust anything that you receive online. Never download anything. Use AI powered phishing detection tools if you're working with corporations or corporate environments, right? There's Abnormal, there's Mimecast, there's a lot of different technologies there and providers that are great at utilizing this kind of technologies. And if you're dealing with a corporate, make sure you set up employee awareness campaigns, right? So imagine how much aware OpenAI employees must be these days of being targeted, and so they must be on a high level alert for that. And you should put your employees, your colleagues, at a good level of awareness about this as well. The second use case that OpenAI reported was called Cyber Avengers. That was attacker that focuses on critical infrastructure. So who is that? That's a state-affiliated group. What they have done, according to OpenAI, they used AI to research programmable logic controllers, PLCs, so the computers that control water systems, manufacturing plants, power grids, the kind of thing that you heard about if you've seen anything about Stuxnet recently, which is very likely, right? Stuxnet was top of mind over the last few months because of its magnitude and people going back to that sort of attack. So how they have done it, they targeted outdated, poorly secured infrastructure in the US, Ireland, and Jordan. And so what does that mean for you, right? So cyber attacks can, of course, affect us in real life and our infrastructure. And so this is incredibly relevant for us all. Now, something we need to be aware of is the systems that they apply to. They're oftentimes known as SCADA and IoT devices being the prime targets. Okay, so many industrial control systems still use default passwords and outdated software. So that's the first thing to defend it. Make sure you ditch default passwords, man. Make sure you take control of the passwords and how you authenticate to these devices. If you're controlling these networks, make sure you segment. Make sure that these devices, IoT devices, are segmented from IT networks. They don't have access to the web or as little as possible. And make sure you utilize intrusion detection that's powered by scalable technologies. And I want to bring up the third use case that they highlighted in the report. That was by an organization called Storm 0817. This is a malware factory. They are developing malware utilizing AI, essentially. And so they're using AI to debug malware, scrape social media, analyze LinkedIn profiles of cybersecurity professionals. So if you're my audience probably work in cyber already, be mindful of people scraping your profiles. And I see that all the time, right? Even my profile, weird people just reaching out, trying to add my stuff, scrape that off my profile. So according to OpenAI, what's the modus operandi here? Developed Android malware disguised as harmless applications to exfiltrate user data, track GPS, and steal credentials. Very common tactics, right? Specifically around stealing credentials. It's easier to steal credentials than to brute force them, right? So what does this mean for you? So social media scrapping is the new OSINT, right? Hackers are using AI to automate the collection of personal information across LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Everything is fair game here. Android is a major target as well, right? So it's super easy to come up with applications for Android. The process to enroll and add applications into the Play Store is simpler than putting into the App Store for Apple, and so it creates a lower barrier of entry. Plus, people can just distribute APKs through download links and make campaigns with them, especially in YouTube and stuff like that. So, the attack surface is larger and easier to break into from Android. And how do you defend yourself against it? Well, of course, lock down your social media. Make sure you use private profiles whenever possible. Make sure you don't allow people and don't connect to people that you don't know. Make sure that you are aware of random Android apps. Don't just install anything. And make sure you utilize mobile endpoint protection whenever possible for your devices to avoid malicious Android apps. The report also covers in depth is a number of covert operations. So these are operations that were essentially created by different actors or adversaries to manipulate and influence people's opinion and societal opinions. Now, of course, who wants to manipulate someone's opinion? Whoever has anything to gain out of that, right? So it's generally someone that wants to make themselves look good or whatnot. So this is a very large kind of operations with very long-term and macro goals here to influence even the state of politics. And so it's really a long report as well. It's more than 30 pages just on covert operations, including a lot of excerpts and examples of things that are coming from it. Probably some that you're seeing on screen right now. And I don't want to touch on all of them here, but I want to leave some key takeaways, right? Because AI isn't just making cyber warfare just efficient, right? It's also changing the battlefield because it's creating a whole lot more content, which we all know about, right? But the key lessons from this and from the cover operations that they highlight from the report is that fake news spread faster than real news. Even if it's debunked, people still believe fake news. I was talking to my parents and they still talk about fake news from 2022 as if they're new because they just see some ads and stuff like that. And unfortunately, they are very vulnerable to this kind of fake news. And that's very unfortunate, but something we all have to deal with in our circles, inner circles, and educate everyone about them. Now, AI also makes large-scale influence operations cheaper and way more effective. And election manipulation is all about shaping narratives, not even hacking votes, right? So we have seen this for years now with the Cambridge Analytica scandal and a lot of other things, but manipulating election is all about taking control of the narrative. And AI and generative AI can do that, gives ammunition to anyone wanting to do that, to create that at scale. And even non-political AI operations like gambling scams and mass reports are growing rapidly, unfortunately. So to protect yourself and protect the ones surrounding yourself and your inner circle, check the sources before sharing any political content. Watch for bot-like engagement patterns like high volume, low interaction. Be wary of accounts created recently with strong political opinions, and report clear misinformation, and don't engage in arguments with bots. Right now, why does all of this from the report from OpenAI actually matters? Because cyber warfare isn't just hacking anymore; it's just becoming a lot more touching in our lives and all our circles. It's psychological, and AI is being weaponized at scale. And the goal, of course, is to make you distrust what you see online or whatever you're interacting with, or the news that you're consuming, which is a very sensitive topic to cover, something that I'm not fully aware of how to touch here. But think about whatever you're consuming and the reasons why someone would like to tweak that and to change that. Reasons to be gained out of that. There's possible someone that's trying to exploit that. And so that's really concerning and really unfortunate and also sad, because we're also seeing a lot of theories of the dead internet. What does that mean? Right, a lot of content that means nothing or is generated by no one, generated by no one's actually using it. With the raft of meaningless and heartless content being put on the web, what does that mean? Is people ever gonna interact with anything anymore? Well, I know my usage of internet is declining rapidly with all of that. I'm curious to see what you're thinking about this, Chu. Are you more wary about how you use the internet? Are you trying to avoid using internet? I know for sure that I'm avoiding social media altogether. I'm avoiding all kinds of internet news, unless from very trustworthy sources, because of all of that. But there's still some good things. Make sure you educate people around yourself. Make sure you look into what you're clicking, think about it, try to understand if there's a lot of ads behind it, understand what the generative AI can do. Now they're introducing operators and computer usage. What does that mean? Well, it means it's even harder to find out if you're dealing with someone that is actually a person. So imagine the potential misuse of that kind of technology. People trying to scam others while having the AI control the computer, or even creating AI agents that are scamming people on their behalf. So then whoever's controlling the models will have to bolster and put a lot of effort into controlling and ensuring the proper use of the technology, which means there's a good chunk of security professionals that are going to have to dedicate their lives to it. And stay skeptical, right? Not paranoid. There's a lot of anxiety around us. Touch grass if you can. but don't be paranoid about it all. Now, hopefully you found this informative. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you want to, or don't. But who knows, maybe that's what they want you to do and keep yourself uninformed. Well, see you next time.